Mets on the road to take on the Tigers. Justin Steele taking them out against Eduardo Rodriguez. Top of the second, Will Smith going to go deep. Mammoth blast to left center field off of the 8-year veteran. So that gives the Mets an early 1-0 lead. In top of the third, they're looking for more. Tommy Edman leading off the inning. Hits one into the triples alley at Comerica Park, and Edman is going to make good on that alley's promise and take all 3 bases that he can, getting into third with a nice slide. Edman's going to come around to score when Jeremy Pena chops one to short. Pena is retired, but the Mets do double their lead. In the fourth, they're looking for more. Leody Taveras stands in. He's going to chop one up the middle. Spectacular diving play by Javi Baez, though. Starts a 6-4-3 double play and ends the Mets top of the fourth. All the while, Justin Steele pitching pretty well up to this point. Eric Haas, though, is going to go deep to lead off the bottom of the fourth and get the Tigers on the board. But Steele settled in after Haas's homer. And to end the fourth, he's going to strike out Kerry Carpenter and Spencer Torkelson. And all in all, Steele's going to pitch really well. Eventually, he's going to give way to Felix Bautista, who comes in with a bases-loaded 3-2 count situation at the bottom of the eighth. Score still 2-1 Mets. Bautista's going to throw 102 miles an hour right by Haas. And then at the bottom of the ninth, 102 miles an hour once again strikes out Spencer Torkelson, who actually went 0-for-4 with 4 strikeouts. So the Mets win 2-1 in Detroit. And after that, they're going to head to Cincinnati. Bryce Miller taking the hill against Nick Lodolo. Bottom of the second here, scoreless game. Will Myers going to unload on a 2-2 offering and give the Reds an early 1-0 lead. And even though it's Great American Ballpark, a notorious hitter's park, we got a pitcher's duel here deep into the sixth as Francisco Alvarez is going to take a walk and load the bases for Evan Longoria, who goes deep to center. TJ Friedel goes all the way back and makes a great catch up against the wall. The Mets do tie the score as the runner tags from third, but they are not able to add any more runs that inning. Top of the seventh, Adolis Garcia has been struggling, hitting barely over 100 in the early going here, is going to go deep to left, and that one just sneaks over the wall, so the Mets take a 2-1 lead late and look like they might win another close road game, just like they did in Detroit. But in the bottom of the eighth, Will Myers, who victimized the Mets earlier, is going to bloop a double into right thanks to the shift. And then after another runner gets on, strikeout happens. We have a 3-1 count, third and first, 1 out. Taylor made 4-6-3 double play. I don't know what is happening. I'm slamming the button to throw the ball to first, but I do not throw it in time. So the run scores, the Reds tie the game. In the top half of the 10th, Jeremy Pena cannot drive in that extra inning runner. And so in the bottom of the 10th, the Reds have a chance to walk it off. And Spencer Steer, first pitch he faces, he's going to hit that one deep to left. I should have jumped here. I didn't. I don't know that it would have mattered anyways. The ball hits the wall. Elly De La Cruz comes around to score. And the Reds steal one from the Mets, 3-2 in Cincinnati. Finally, we head to Baltimore for a clash of first-place teams. Austin Voth on the mound for the Orioles, having a great season. He's going to strike out Brandon Crawford to get out of a bit of a jam in the top half of the first. Bottom of the third, still scoreless. Cedric Mullins with 2 outs is going to single up the middle and drive in a run. Tyler Glasnow making one of his first starts back after coming off the IL with a head injury. Rays have another chance here with the bases loaded on top of the fourth, but Randy Arozarena is going to chop back to Voth, and he's going to handle it himself. And in the bottom half of that same inning, the Orioles will take advantage of a runner in scoring position. Gunnar Henderson singles to right, and that runner is going to come around to score, so Baltimore now leads 2-0. Glasnow did settle in, and we'll see he'll end the bottom of the sixth here with 2 strikeouts. Leading off the bottom of the seventh, Anthony Santander, the first pitch that Liam Hendricks throws is hit a mile, so Baltimore tacks on another run and now leads 3-0. Top of the eighth here, we have an interesting situation. Chris Bryant chops one up the middle, easy ground ball, but it actually hits the base and deflects into center field, and that is noteworthy because that is how Chris Bryant is going to get his 1,000th career hit. In the bottom half of the inning, we have another interesting situation. Runner on third, 2 outs, chopper to third. I have no idea why the game did not let me control Wander Franco, but he just kind of pathetically stabs at the ball and misses it. So the Orioles add an insurance run there. And then the next hitter, 1-2 count, Henderson's going to bloop one to center. Manuel Margot's charging, Can't make the play. I'm not going to dive because that would be risky. I throw into second, and then the runner, just for some reason's heading home. He would have been out by a mile, but I screwed it up. So this game just needs to end, and indeed it will. Randy Arozarena strikes out. Baltimore wins 5-0 and takes back control of first place in the American League East. All right, so here we are with the mid-May recap of kind of just where we're at and how both teams are faring relative to the rest of the league. Mets are at 24-19, still in first place though, because the NL East is a complete mess. The Phillies, who started the season 0-10, have actually worked their way into second place because the Braves are 3-10 so far in May, and then Nationals just kind of stink, although they just won 3 straight against us in the Mets. And the Marlins also have won 3 in a row, but they've been one of the worst teams in the league all year. So Mets still with a comfortable first place lead. Even though you can just see right there, Phillies seems to be the theme of the NL East lately. They've won 3 in a row. The Mets have lost 3 in a row, and yet we still have a 5-game lead. So that's where the Mets are sitting. Run differential is looking pretty good. In fact, in a continuation of what happened in April, we've continued to struggle in close games. So far this month, I guess that one is technically April, but lost 2-1 to Atlanta, lost 2-1 to Colorado, lost 3-2 to Cincinnati, lost 2-1 to Washington, and then, otherwise, a lot of the wins are 15-4, 4-0, 5-0, 9-5, so bigger margins. We did have 2 close wins here, but that's where the Mets are at. I think player performances are pretty much staying the same. I will say Adolis Garcia in this game, Garcia came in hitting 108 and went 2 for 3 with a homer. So it was good to see a little sign of life from him. That's where the Mets are at, though. The Rays are in a little bit better shape. 25-17 heading into the series against the Mets. Reeled off a 7-game winning streak at the start of the month, and then won a big series in Baltimore after losing the first game 5-0. So that was huge. Just came off a pretty disastrous long weekend in the Bronx, losing the first 3 and then finally salvaging at least 1 game by winning the final one. So that's where the Rays are at. Liam Hendricks continues to struggle. If we just look at this game as one example, a late 4-3 lead ended up getting blown, and Hendricks gave up 2 of those runs. His ERA is 10.43, and really, the rest of the bullpen seems to be in a pretty good place. Like, Jeffrey Springs isn't great, but he's kind of like a long reliever. But otherwise, you got Garrett Clevenger. He's thrown 10 innings. His ERA is under 1. Fairbanks has stabilized a little bit after kind of a rocky start. Poche, ERA of 2. Adam, ERA of 2. Kendall Graves. You look at all these ERAs, you got guys who are basically 2 or under, and then Liam Hendricks, who's at almost 10. So I think he's going to have to go. The problem with simulating a bunch of games is unless you take someone off the roster, you can't really put it in any kind of setting to say, hey, just don't use this guy unless it's garbage time. So like I've said before, Liam Hendricks, amazing story in real life. It would be wonderful if he would even just pitch decently. He doesn't have to be Mariano Rivera in his prime to still be a useful player. And it's strange because he came into the year, I want to say, in the high 80s, if not mid 80s. But he's just kind of fallen off a cliff with his overall rating, and his stats are just nightmarish. So probably going to trade for somebody new out of the bullpen. And we'll actually see that shortly here. And then we'll get back into the gameplays. We'll see Rays versus Mets. Just as a reminder, I mentioned this in one of my, I think, longer house rule explanations that you could see if you go to the blog. But when these teams play each other, so like in this interleague matchup and then in the event that the teams were to meet in the World Series, I'm going to pitch for both teams and I'll play all of the games. So no simulating when it's Rays versus Mets. But I'm only going to be the pitcher. So I'll just be switching my controller back and forth throughout those games. But we'll see how this big 3-game series for both teams here in mid-May shakes out, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the month.